You want answers?
I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth.
Hey everybody, welcome to this episode of the Brutal Truth About Sales and Selling podcast. This week, we're going to be talking about the number one thing that salespeople can do to improve. I've got Jason Price back on the show. And as an entrepreneur, he bootstrapped this company and basically he's built a sales team and now he's selling to salespeople. So he's always interacting with great salespeople and he's going to share what he's been doing with his team to get them to become better listeners, better questioners, and be able to connect with customers. This is really what the customer wants, not just what the sales manager wants. And what we have to do is become better at this. The better we get at it, because it's not natural. We're naturally talkers, or we're naturally not interested. We're interested in ourselves, and what we need to do is get interested in what our prospects and customers want and need so that we can engage with them, so that we can build that rapport, get the conversation started, get the meeting, get the presentation, and keep the deal moving. We're also going to talk about timing. Timing is a critical element of the sales process. Too often we're thinking that, just because we're ready to sell means that they must be ready to buy. It doesn't work that way. We've got to find that, be there at that right time without being pushy and obnoxious. Always have a way of connecting with them and bring some value to each one of those meetings. Hey, I know you're all busy at the end of the year trying to close it out, spend some time with your family, but I really appreciate everybody who's telling somebody about the podcast. Visit me on LinkedIn, connect up with me. If you see some of my content, I'm putting out a funny video that has to do with sales every day as a way of just connecting with people. I'm putting it on YouTube as well, Maverick Method on YouTube. Also, make sure you check out last week's episode where we were talking about presentations, which brings me up to Prezi. Prezi, I'm just cooking with Prezi now. The engagement, the feedback that I'm hearing from people who have moved to it is unbelievable. Now you can tell a story, and it is easy to build the presentation and then communicate it to your client and share it and track it and all of that. Let's get into the interview at prezi.com/brutaltruth to get your free 14-day evaluation as well as a free ebook. Let's get into the presentation. Hey, Jason, welcome back to the show. Hey, as a way of getting started, fill me in on what you think salespeople can do more of.
No, hey, Brian, first of all, thanks for having me back. It's going to be back on the show. So, I think if I look at maybe one thing salespeople could be doing more of, it's probably just maybe the simple art of listening. I think so many times when, we get on a call with a prospect or a potential customer, we spend so much time talking to them and talking at them and presenting that we don't take the time to really listen, right, and do that discovery so that we understand, what are the real pain points for this particular prospect and how can we reverse engineer this customer so that we can build a solution that will actually solve their problems. It sounds simple, but I think using that rapport building process of just taking the time to understand our prospect a little bit better and then delivering a solution that we know will solve those problems will go a long way. And I'm not seeing as much of it. It's something we're working on a lot with my team now, and it's just really taking that time in the beginning of the relationship just to understand that customer a little bit better. And we're already starting to see some great results by adding it into our process.
And how have you done that? What's working for you?
I mean, I think some people just aren't comfortable in the rapport building process of the call, right?
Yeah.
Some people naturally do it. And so a lot of it, honestly, was just scripting out some simple questions, based on the vertical that we know should lead us down a path where we can start understanding them a little bit better. I think once you get the conversation going, it does become a bit more natural. I believe in the beginning of the call, it's just what are those, depending on the prospect, what are those questions, those sort of fact-finding questions that you can sort of use to find out more about your prospect, understand a bit more about their pain points, and use that to find the end solution. And so really, like I said, it's just sort of building out some of those questions ahead of time. I think when our sales reps have those in front of them, they know they can get that conversation started. And then once you get the conversation started, once again, it just goes back to listening, right? Because now it's all on the prospect, it's on the customer. We're allowing them to tell us what they need. And I think if we're listening well, we should be able to find the right solution for them.
Yeah, I think what's always worked for me is that painful pause where you just don't say anything. And it almost makes the other person talk.
Make them talk, of course.
Yeah. And this is why I find a lot of introverts are actually really great salespeople, because they come up with a creative question like what prompted your interest, or what's going on in your world today, or what's your day like.
No doubt about it. And that's what it's like. And to your point, it doesn't even necessarily need to be like these, extraordinary questions that dive into their business. It just needs to get the conversation started just so we get to understand a bit more about them. But yeah, going back to the introverted thing, I think, you're in any networking blog or book or sort of forum out there about, what's the best way to network or meet new people. And across the board, what's the one thing they always say is just listen more. You'll never meet someone and ask them a bunch of questions and let them tell you all about themselves and then walk away thinking that you're a bad person, right? I mean, that's the easiest way to start sort of putting yourself out there. And let's be honest, people like talking about themselves. They like talking about their businesses. So it just sort of I think I've always said this, I think the person asking the questions really controls the conversation. And so I think it's just sort of using that skill set to find out more about our customers so we can deliver the right solution to them.
That's it. As salespeople, we're taught just the opposite. We're taught, the magic words, the presentation, the pretty slide. Make sure you hit these 73 points before you hang up. And so, give us a sample of some of those questions that you found to be really helpful.
Well, so ours are a bit more. So let's look at one of the verticals that we target. So we go after one of our primary verticals is the automotive dealership environment. So we sell to a lot of car dealers. And so we ask a lot of questions related to their process. So it could be something as simple as, look, and before we even get to this, it's getting to know them a bit more too. How long you've been with the dealership, how long you've been in the automotive industry. And this is all assuming we don't know this information ahead of time, but it's just really to sort of open up the conversation to get a better sense of who this person is and how we can sort of start engage them a little bit better. But it's really asking questions specifically around, for example, what is your lead gen process? So when a lead comes in your dealership, what's your first response look like? And when that first response goes out to your customer, what's your percentage of responses back? I mean, do you get a lot of responses back? Are you driving showroom traffic from your activity? What's your percentage of leads into showroom that you're getting right now? And basically what we try to do is sort of really understand, okay, what are they currently doing? And we usually have a general sense. But what we're able to do then is sort of use our platform to talk about how we can solve whatever problems they're experiencing within that process. Because at the end of the day, they probably always want more responses from their leads. They always want more showroom traffic. And so that's where our product, GoVideo, comes in, where we, whether it's a vehicle walk around or a personalized introduction using a video from the sales rep, we get significantly higher showroom traffic when those videos are implemented in the communication process. And so it's almost starting with the end in mind, right? Because we know that if GoVideo is using that process, it's going to be successful, and it's just sort of leading them down that path so they realize it along with us.
So what I heard was one or two situational questions, like how long you've been there, which is a great question.
Of course.
And then how are they doing it today? And then getting into a problem. So that's what I heard. Is that what you're trying to do?
Yeah, that's how we break it down. You nailed it. That's the best way to simplify it, because for us, and it goes back to the beginning, it's just listening to the customer, understanding what their pain points are. I mean, look, you can sell features all day long. You can sell whatever value you perceive your product has, but if it's not solving a real challenge for your customer, if it's not really focusing on one of their pain points and helping making that better, it's going to be hard to sell your product. And so, yeah, it's just sort of, once again, breaking the barriers down, getting to know them a little bit better ahead of time, and then really finding some pain points within their processes that our product can help make better. And then we sort of allow the conversation to move down that path.
So their pain points are responses? Is that pretty much the one thing, or?
Yeah. So here's an example of a car dealer. So one of the things they battle is third-party leads, right? So Cars.com, CarGurus, all these third-party leads are constantly sort of driving traffic to different dealerships. And so the conversion on those leads into the showroom is about 8%. So if you think about it, and that's the industry average. So some dealers are doing better, some a little bit worse. But if you're a car dealer, if 92% of your third-party leads never make it into your dealership, that means you're certainly not selling them a car, right? And so what we focus on is, look, everybody that's receiving these leads is sending the same templated plain text email, right? They're engaging them in the same way. And so we really focus on that and how we can make GoVideo a part of that process, make them more unique, get them more responses. And we're seeing double that. with our best dealers where they can double their showroom traffic. And then, well, look, once they get in the dealership, it's all on them to sell the car, right? But those are staggering numbers for them. And it's just as simple as using video as a way to sort of communicate and engage that customer.
And how are they using? Are they showing videos of the car? Are they showing videos of themselves, the dealership? What is the content of that video that's resonating?
Yeah, it's all across the board. So, we see a lot of just personal lead introduction. So if someone's very comfortable on camera, it's as simple as when the lead comes in, whether they use our software on their computer or our mobile app on their phone. It just, recording a quick video of themselves, introducing themselves, talking through the vehicles that customer might be looking for, sort of creating that engaging first response, that connection with the customer using video. That's one way to do it. Now, if it's a used car, or maybe if they're not quite as comfortable on camera, that's where we see them taking our mobile app out to the dealership lot. And then, actually doing just a quick walk around in the car. Like, hey, Brian, thanks so much for your internet lead. We just got your submission to the website. By the way, if you're looking at this video now, you can see this exact car you inquired about. It's amazing. We actually have it on the lot right now. I'd love for you to come down and take a test drive. It's creating that sort of emotional connection with the customer that's really getting the response back. But yeah, to your point, we're seeing all sorts of videos going out from the stores.
And what type of emotion is resonating? Is it like the fear of missing out? Is it the competitiveness? I would think, in the auto industry, competitiveness would be really big.
Yes, I mean, it is very big. I mean, if you look at the way customers are shopping now, they're visiting on average 20 plus websites, right? So our customers, are going into it's crazy, right? They're going in the dealership so incredibly informed. And so, as they're going to all these different websites, that competitiveness to really sort of create the environment where they want to actually respond back to you, or they want to visit your store, is becoming harder because they have so many options. And so that's where you're just using a tool like Video allows them to sort of stand out from the competition. What we're seeing now, though, is, look, we have quite a few dealers signed up, and it's becoming one of those things where it's not even giving you an advantage over your competitors because so many people are using it. It's just, you simply have to do it or you're going to be left behind because it is by far the best way for them to interact and engage with their customers.
And then do you do that like implication, like if you don't, or try and build like a business justification with the 2x response rate? Like what would 2x response rate mean to you? Like a question like that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and so each customer is a little bit different, So one of the things we may find is they may not be entirely sure. This goes back to the pain points, right? They may not be entirely sure what their conversion rate is, right? So if we tell them double what, they may not even know what we're doubling. And so it's really using that, going back to the beginning of the conversation, and really understanding where they feel like the breakdown might be. Now, once again, we know more than likely, based on the industry average, that they're losing so many of their leads based on the way these third-party leads are generated from, like, once again, the Cars.com, Car Gurus. Those are so competitive that they're driving so few of them into their dealership. That's an opportunity. But if they're not aware of that, it's not something we focus on, right? Because what we don't want to do is try to convince them of a problem they may not thought about. If the conversation moves in that direction, it's fantastic. But I believe once again, it goes back to listening. The customer is going to know where they feel like their problems are at within that process. And bottom line is, we feel that no matter what, communication will always make it better. Engaging your customers will always make it better. Right? Creating more responses back when a lead comes in is always better. So it's really just sort of finding out where they feel like their pain points are and focusing on that more so than telling them where we think they're at.
And is another pain point, it's just timing, right? Because when you're in market for a car, it typically is you're in market, right?
Sure.
You might be like me, where I drive by the lot for 2 years before I buy it, but I don't think most people do that.
No.
I think most people, if they're in market, they're going to buy a car in the next month, and someone's going to sell it.
Of course. And it's even shorter than that. Yeah. I mean, so time is of the essence. There is absolutely no question about that. And so look, I think even within a week time frame, it's getting a bit long for these car dealers. So yeah, I'm talking, most dealerships now give a response out within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how critical that first response is. Imagine if every sales organization followed up with every lead within 5 minutes, right? I think there'd be a lot more people selling a lot more deals. I mean, they have it dialed in, but they have to do that based on the competitiveness. Now, there's nothing more important than getting them on the phone. but we know that most people don't answer their phone. It goes to voicemail. And so really, email still is the primary source of the battle right now. That is the primary focus on trying to get that customer's attention. And video is just such an inexpensive, powerful way to create an impression that plain text email just can't do.
Now, if I was on the sales side at the dealership, because I'm sure they're looking for a particular model, color, and year, I would go out and make a bunch of videos of every car in the lot, have them stored, and then put an intro, and then connect up that video to it. Because if I got an email with a person either in front of the car showing that they have the car, I see the car, because it's a visual thing.
Right.
Getting an email saying, "Oh, we have that 300Z in black," and it's like, okay. But if I see a picture of it or a video of it, you believe it.
Right. It creates that impression. Well, I just saw a great video yesterday where car sales went to the lot. There was a specific vehicle that the customer was interested in. And in his little pitch back to the customer, he said, "Hey, look, by the way, we have this 2017 Honda Accord. It's sitting right here. Just so you know, we sold 3 more in the last 24 hours, 3 of these cars. It's the last one we have left. It's an amazing car. I'd hate for you to lose it. We'd love to get you into the dealership and check it out. I'm available for the next 3 hours for a test drive." Now, what this is doing, and it's obviously amazing the way it's working in the car environment. We can translate this out to any industry. I mean, he's able to create a sense of urgency, right? And so this goes back. So imagine if you're not even a car dealership, you're just a salesperson selling at any business. It's so difficult to truly engage with a lead, right? Especially as you're battling email, trying to get the appointment set. It's almost like this sort of engagement that a salesperson has, all these great qualities that allows them to close deals. It's so difficult for that to really come out, especially early on in the process, because they're just battling all these plain text emails. What video does is it allows a sales rep to somewhat sell again, right? They can show their passion. They can get behind their product. They can get focused on the customer and really delivering this amazing message. It's going to get a lot more results. So that's where video is just ubiquitous. I mean, truly, if you're a salesperson and you're trying to stand out in the inbox, it truly create a magnificent first impression on new leads. Video is definitely the best way to do it.
And you also give it the sense of the type of person you are. And especially in a commodity space like autos, if you come across as a down-to-earth human being, and you kind of help them through the journey, help you through the financing. We got the color you want. I got to be honest with you, they don't last long. And call me,
sure.
Or I'll call you, but let's get to this done. And as opposed to the guy with the suit and the,
Of course.
Right. So I think you can communicate that and really talk about the issues that person cares about. And, I think video is so much easier to consume than it is the text. And it's a human being.
Right. Well, I mean, look, people like buying from people they like, right? Yeah. And how likable can you really be in a plain text email? I mean, might make a couple witty jokes, but will they even come through correctly? Who knows? I mean, it's difficult to create that meaningful connection using plain text email. And that's where, by incorporating video and, like you said, just being able to sort of be yourself, be natural, because let's be honest, most good salespeople are probably somewhat likable, right? And so even average salespeople are probably likable. And so to be able to portray that through a video, to be able to get yourself out there, connect with that customer in different ways is going to have a huge impact.
Now, how do you guys justify from an economic standpoint? Because let's say you get them excited, they start using it, but text emails free, video emails, a little bit of a leap, both from a technology and an economic standpoint. How do you justify it economically?
Well, I mean, the good news is it's very affordable. So, our base package starts at $49 a month. So basically any sales rep, $49 a month to have like this powerful tool to be able to send these amazing videos. It's an easy way to get started. I think for us, just goes back to the value, right? It goes back to the beginning of our conversation once again, where, what are these customers' pain points, right? I know for me as a salesperson, just for our organization, I mean, I use our tool all the time. It just makes sense. Obviously, it'd be silly if I didn't. But just the ability for me to sort of, reach out to other executives in a more personal way to sort of talk about my company and how I founded it and what makes me excited about the company, for them to be able to see me and hear me deliver those videos, I can tell you we get amazing results from things like that. And so I think a lot of it just goes back to video create if that's as you get back, we have a very focused ROI reporting. Seeing this as a sales rep, you're going to see who's viewing your video, how often they're viewing it, how far into the video someone's viewing, whether or not they're dropping off at a certain point in time. So you're going to be able to measure your engagement. You're going to be able to really see the response and the intelligence of sort of the data based on what you're sending out, and just being able to use the tool in that way and deliver the results back. It just comes naturally.
And let's go back to, getting salespeople to listen. How do you judge that during the interview process?
That's a great question.
Because you want them to be salesy and outgoing, right?
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I think that's the one. That's why I mentioned. I think it's the one thing I think a lot of people can be doing more of. I don't think many people do it well. If you look at so many of the Simon Sinek's or whoever's out on YouTube right now, putting out all this content. I mean, everyone's talking about it right now, and I think it's now becoming sort of this thing now where people get it. It's like, look, you got to really understand your customer better. You got to care more. You got to listen. For us, it's truly been a focus really more in the last 6 to 12 months, and it just goes back to like we're putting our customer first, and to put our customer first, we've got to be able to listen to them. And so it's actually new to us. So to your point, I got to tell you, I'd love some feedback from you on how you find that, because at the end of the day, I believe if you have someone that's trustworthy and they're likable and they can deliver a strong presentation, what we're finding here is you can teach these people to listen a little better. You can give them some pointers on how to sort of build that rapport a little bit better in the relationship. And frankly, if they're likable, they're probably doing it without the presentation or throughout the presentation anyway. I'd much rather have someone that we know can deliver an amazing presentation and sort of coach them through the listening, as opposed to have someone that can listen and can't deliver any presentation. So I believe it's difficult. I mean, what would you look for if you were looking for both sides of it?
Well, it is critical, because I've been doing a lot of research on the difference between the B and the A player. And, what I've constantly seen is the B player doesn't see anything wrong with what they're doing. They say, oh, I'm doing that. Yeah, I get it. That's a great refresher. And they tend to talk over you. They tend to talk too fast. They tend to lose interest if you're not talking about what they care about. And if they're not coachable, and it all comes back to this statement that I've always heard is like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Some people just never get ready, right?
Right.
And they're stuck. And are they coachable? And most sales leaders I'm talking to, if they interview, especially an entry-level salesperson, and they're not getting the sense that that person's coachable. And so what they're doing is in the interview process, having them, talk about something that they're passionate about, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. But then give them a little feedback and then have them do it again and see if they change. Because
that's actually a great idea. Sure.
Yeah, because what I do a lot in the training is you show them exactly what to do. I go, okay, now do it. And now let me see it again. Even with emails, it's like, okay, do this, this, and this, and not this, this, and this. And it comes back and they just do it the same way. It's like, no,
yeah.
Because, and salespeople are just really, once they get into a groove and it works, they think it's going to work every time. And it really takes somebody who is looking to really become better. And there's not a lot of people like that. And they can take feedback without it being a personal attack.
Sure.
As opposed to just, hey, it's just constructive feedback to make you better, which makes you more money.
Yeah, well, and I can tell you that I can find the best salespeople are certainly coachable, right? Or at least more coachable by far than maybe a B player, right? Because they're always looking to get better. They're always looking for positive ways to, have an impact on how they're selling. Now, I think you hit the nail on the head, though, because we're kind of talking, how do you find someone that listens well in an interview? You really can't, right? Because, you're trying to really ask the questions and allow them to do a lot of the talking so you can figure out whether or not they're going to be a good fit. But to your point, if they're coachable, that's enough to be able to say, okay, look, this guy's going to be able to sell a lot, or this lady's going to be able to sell a lot. And maybe they don't have the listening piece down, but we have a process and we have a training in place where we're going to be able to teach them how that rapport building works, and they're clearly coachable. I think that's an interesting approach to it.
Yeah, and maybe even just tell them what's important about the company, then ask them to kind of feed it back to you to see if they were listening.
Sure, were they listening, right?
Yeah,
that's
did they do any research about the company? Are they asking you great questions like, why did you come here? Why did you start the company? What's important to you?
Of course.
Where's it going in the next 2 or 3 years? And, what are you looking for? My favorite question in an interview was, describe your ideal client or candidate for this role, right? And I'd let them go for 20 minutes telling me about what they want. And while I was doing it, I was like touching my tie and pointing to myself as this kind of unconscious gesture. And you got to think of it from a psychological standpoint. They're spending 20 minutes telling you about the ideal candidate while they're looking at you.
Sure.
It's really hard.
That's smart.
Yeah. It's like, what would be the ideal prospecting process for you? Or what would a perfect video look like for you? And then you get engaged in that. And all of a sudden, they're telling you what they want. And then you just feed it back to them.
Well, I think it goes back to think about this, and it's actually a really good point. And I've seen a little bit of that in some of my interviews, and I can tell you those have definitely been by far some of the best ones. But, if you think about that, once again, it goes back to people like to talk, right? So, when I have had candidates ask me a bit about the company, look, talk to me about how you founded the company. Why did you found it? What were some of the challenges you experienced early on? When I get those questions, I'm happy to answer them, right? And then what that does, it does sort of create a little bit more of a connection. I'm sure it gives that candidate a little bit better of a headshot against everyone else because of the fact they're actually doing a little bit of listening, rapport building. So, it works both ways.
And how about the questions? Are they actually scripted, or do people vary with them, or did you just hand out like spin selling, or have you used a particular methodology?
Yeah, so we do a very sort of like roundtable process here. When people come in to our door, they meet with at least 5 different individuals, and each individual sort of has a different take on how they're approaching the candidate. Some people focus on culture and just integration into the team. Other people focus on sort of base qualities. Can they do this particular job? And then, usually when it gets to me, it's sort of like a holistic approach to all of it, where I'm covering both sides of it, really, which is, getting to understand a bit about them. Are they coachable? What's their work ethic like? And then understanding a bit more of their qualities related to how they sell. And it's sort of taking us as a group together is how we sort of make decisions. We found it's worked extremely well up to this point.
And what's the turnover rate on your team? How often do you find somebody that it just isn't working, or have you been able to like transition them into like customer success or marketing or some other role?
Sure. No, I love that question. So we founded the company in 2004. We're at just over 30 employees now, and I'm happy to say that in those many years, we've only lost a couple employees. In the last 3 or 4, we haven't lost one. Now we've grown and we're adding people every single year. But I think that goes back to our interview process, the culture that we build here, how deeply we care about our employees. Customer retention is honestly probably employee retention is one of my number one focuses. And it's just based on creating an environment to where people can succeed. So yeah, we have certainly moved some people around. Some people have been promoted into manager roles. Other people have moved out of different departments into a different one. But we are always looking for ways to help our employees succeed, and it's just getting them in the right spot. And so far it's worked very well.
And for that sales rep who really wants to crush it, what advice do you give them? We talked about listening and questions, but what 2 or 3 things would you really recommend they do?
Oh gosh, so listening's key, right? Because I think if you understand your customer well, if you understand their pain points, you're going to be able to sell a lot more. I think the other thing I would recommend is just patience. I even see with my team sometimes, I think it's easy to get a lead and make some follow-ups and not get some responses and just mark a lead as dead. And I believe patience in the sales process, understanding your customer's timeline and be willing to fight through a deal. I think that's important. And then I just simply caring, right? Caring about your product, caring about what you're selling, caring about your team, truly caring about your customer, right? The challenges that you're solving. I think that's probably more important than anything, right? I think if you're in a company where you're selling a product you don't necessarily care about, or selling into a vertical that you know little about or don't care about, it's just going to be hard to be successful. And so I think if you're a good salesperson that can deliver amazing presentation, but you don't care about the product, nothing else matters. So I think it's sort of those foundational things that I think are more important. And once those are, look, once you care deeply about the customer, once you care about the product, you've sort of developed some skill sets around building rapport and learning more about the customer. I think everything else falls into place.
And I think that's a critical point, because timing is so important. And I think today with even the high velocity model, people kind of think, oh, they got a lead. Okay, we have a meeting, we got a demo. they didn't buy. That doesn't mean they're not going to buy.
Right.
It means
Right.
there's other priorities. It might be the end of the year. It might be the beginning of the year. The budgets might not be there.
Of course.
Yeah. And I think
Employee turnover, new implementation. Yeah, you run into it all. I got a great story around that. So one of our outbound BD processes, it's really just sort of, I think we've talked about it before. It's a combination of cold calls and emails. And that particular process drives over 100 webinars a month based on creating opportunities, just going out and hunting. And I can tell you the sales cycle on those deals are about 70 days right now. An average sales cycle for a company is less than a week. Depending on the vertical, up to 2 weeks for automotive, less than a week for outside of the auto space. But we're looking at over 2 months from our cold call program. So that's one of the things we had to actually adjust our expectations as we first launched it a couple of years ago. We just weren't closing a lot. But what we found is that, based on the process itself and the fact that we're creating cold opportunities, these deals are just going to take longer to close. And that's why that patience is so critical, because had we not stuck through the process, had we not continued to follow up, we wouldn't have closed anything. Because in our standard process, those leads would have been considered dead.
And that's it. And I think that follow-up, not hounding, but, staying in touch, either on LinkedIn, Twitter, wherever, email, phone, and talking about something they're both interested in without, hey, are you going to go ahead? Where is it today? What can you do? Oh, and I see people with the 17 touches in 17 days, and I'm like, no, that's not going to, that'll alienate
unreasonable.
people.
No.
Cool. How about like YouTube? How are you guys using it?
Yeah, it's never going to work.
And your customers using YouTube as well?
Yeah, so YouTube's a key part of the video strategy. What I love YouTube for is creating inbound leads, creating brand awareness, right? So if you have just some general videos that you put on YouTube to be able to tag properly, put the right descriptions in, especially if you're targeting very specific keywords. I mean, look, if you do it right and you really get into video SEO, you can drive a lot of traffic to your website. Google absolutely loves it, and it's probably one of the better ways now, I think, in terms of ROI for generating traffic into your website. So certainly using YouTube to generate leads is amazing. In terms of how it compares to what we do, though, look, once the lead's already in, you don't want to be pushing a communication out to a public site, right? Because what's going to happen when they watch a personalized video? First of all, it's a little weird that your personalized video to a customer, which is supposed to be this private communication, is out on YouTube anyway, right? But then, no, you don't want to do that. But then they're finished watching your video, and then there's ads surrounding it. So with GoVideo, we basically have a closed funnel where we deliver it in the customer's environment so that that they retain them in their world. But once again, going back to YouTube, I think if you're looking to drive new leads, that's where you want it. It's more of the viral piece as opposed to the business communication.
Excellent. And what do you see changing or developing in 2018 that people should be aware of?
Well, I think video now is a hot button for everybody. There was a report done by Google. I think 80%, if I'm not mistaken, of web traffic in 2018 is going to be video. It's what people are consuming. So many CMOs and marketing directors are talking about how they can use more video in their brand campaigns. You're starting to see it. At any sort of convention I go to, video is one of the hottest topics. And so I think what I'm seeing is like right now the wave is massive, and we're just going to continue to see it move. So for a lot of people right now that aren't using video, I believe they're going to continue to hear about it. It's something that they're eventually going to have to jump on board and start using.
And how long would it take, from the time you go to the website, you sign up, to the time you can have a video and ready to send off to somebody?
Minutes, right? So you just go to the website. Yeah, absolutely minutes, right? So you head to our website. Once you're purchased, you'll immediately get access to the account. You'll also immediately get a response back from an account manager here that's willing to walk you through a quick demo, online training, show you how to use it, talk through best practices, and you're sending videos in no time.
Great. So just go to covideo.com?
Yeah, you got it, covideo.com. We actually have a 10-day free trial, so you can check that out if you want to take a look before you buy.
Hey, I hope you enjoyed that. Jason's a great guy. He really knows what he's doing. And he's really cooking it with this GoVideo. I think video is going to be the future of email, because clearly what's happening is that the text emails aren't really cutting it. And, the pitching, I get a lot of pushback, a lot of sales. Oh, yeah, pitching, that's what we should do. If it works, do it. I really don't care how anyone's crushing their number. I'm just here to share what I see working, what not working. But whatever is working for you, do more of it. If it's not working, take a step back and reevaluate it. So make sure you're checking out covideo.com. Also, check back the B2B Revenue Show. I've got some great stuff up there. Got some great interviews with CROs, CMOs, CEOs, sales leaders talking about what's really working today, how they're going to market. I think you'd like it. And also, you might be able to sell them something. You say, hey, I heard you on Burns' podcast. You did a great job. Have you ever looked at my stuff? Yeah. So check that out. Also, coming out January 1st, I'm going to drop the course, start the conversation, get the meeting. Now, this is going to be for if you dig the podcast, if this is the type of thing that would help you, meaning that you sell to B2B, business-to-business clients where there's a lot of people, a lot of decision makers. How do you get into the account? How do you work your way up, down, and across? Get those conversations started and get meetings that turn into deals. This has been consistently what I've heard forever about what's going wrong today in sales. People are not getting enough initial meetings. Marketing is not getting us leads anymore. They're just getting us contacts. But contacts aren't hard to get anymore. Contacts are a commodity today. You can get more contacts than you can stand. And I'm going to show you how to get your whole total addressable market in your territory, how to prioritize them, find out what they care about, get in. And this is not about pitching. This is taking a humanistic approach to getting conversations started and getting meetings. Now, this is not going to just be a course. This is going to be a course and content by you, meaning I'm going to interview you. You're going to show me what's working. If you want, show me your email, show me your phone scripts, your social practices, how you're doing it today, and then I'm going to give you some coaching on how to get it done better, faster, easier, with limited to no rejection. It's insanely effective. I've been doing this for probably now 3 years. I've been modifying it constantly, and that's it. This course is going to be like a living thing. You're going to hear from all kinds of people selling all kinds of things into all kinds of markets, and you're going to get feedback, and it's going to be so much fun. So look for that January 1st. Connect up with me on LinkedIn. Please share some content and tell one salesperson this week about The Brutal Truth or the B2B Revenue Leadership Podcast. It's up to you. Thanks for listening.
I want to know the truth, because deep down in places that you don't talk about are team and management meetings. You want me on that call. You need me on that call. We use words like fleet view, volume control, total cost of ownership. We use these words as a backbone of a life spent negotiating something. You use them as a punchline. I have neither the time nor inclination to explain myself to people who rise and sleep under the very blanket of revenue that I provide and then question the manner in which I provide it. I would rather you just said thank you and went on your way. Otherwise, may I suggest you pick up a phone and make some sales calls. Either way, I don't give a damn what you think you're entitled to.
Did you expense the lap dances?
I did the job I was hired.
Did you expense the lap dances?
You're goddamn right I did!